The story begins with Null, god of the void, imprisoned long ago when light invaded his domain. His symbiote children betrayed him, locking him away with the Codex, the key to his freedom. Now, Null seeks to reclaim it, destroy the symbiotes, and wipe out all life, sparing only his loyal creatures, the Copes. Scene shifts to Eddie Brock in a bar at the end of Spider-Man: No Way Home. As he chats with the bartender, a portal whisks him away. Annoyed by the multiversal chaos, Venom vents his frustration, wrecking the bar before they leave. Eddie later learns of Detective Patrick Mulligan's death and realizes he can't stay in Mexico forever. With blackmail material on New York's DA and Venom's wish to see the Statue of Liberty, they hit the road. Venom reminds Eddie they're fugitives and won't hesitate to fight back. Unbeknownst to them, someone is tracking their movements. Venom senses danger, leading them to a grimy dogfighting ring. The owners threaten them, but Eddie, unwilling to let the dogs suffer, transforms. They demolish the thugs, failing their usual "We are Venom" line, deciding they need practice. A dog chews up Eddie's sandals, forcing him to go barefoot as they leave. Meanwhile, one of Null's creatures begins stalking him, and an unknown observer alerts General Strickland. Back at the bar, the bartender notices a symbiote fragment left behind. Strickland arrives, retrieves it, and questions the bartender about the weird guy talking to himself. Elsewhere, Dr. Payne dreams of her brother's tragic death before waking to news that Strickland is heading to Area 51. Upon arrival, Strickland explains his mission to collect symbiotes, while Payne studies them. A colleague, nicknamed Christmas, reveals they've revived a presumed dead symbiote. In an underground lab, they meet Patrick, now a perfect symbiote host. Payne tells him they saved him, but he bitterly responds that she's just as broken as he is. The symbiote warns of creatures that hunt their kind, unstoppable forces of destruction. As it speaks, we glimpse Null, laughing as he annihilates worlds. On a flight to New York, Venom and Eddie discuss clearing his name. Suddenly, a symbiote-hunting Copage attacks. In a brief, intense fight, Venom destroys it in the plane's turbine. Afterward, he somberly tells Eddie he must disappear to keep him safe and jumps off the plane, acting as a parachute. Meanwhile, a family embarks on a long-awaited trip to Area 51, oblivious to the danger around them. Nearby, Eddie, frustrated by the attack, demands answers. Venom reveals that Null forged the Copage to hunt symbiotes after his betrayal. Hearing Null's name terrifies Venom. Just speaking it could attract his attention. He explains that Eddie carries the Codex, formed when Venom revived him, making him the key to Null's release. If either Eddie or Venom dies, the Codex vanishes. Traveling through the desert, they spot a horse and use it for faster travel. Meanwhile, Strickland and Payne argue over whether symbiotes are fleeing something or simply migrating. Their discussion is interrupted by news of a strange mid-air jump. Strickland mobilizes troops, tracking Eddie and Venom. As a battle ensues, Venom sacrifices himself to save Eddie, who is forced to shoot an agent. Separated and weakened, Venom is captured, while Strickland witnesses a Copage moving in. The military diverts its attack, allowing Eddie to escape unnoticed. Dr. Payne starts believing Patrick's warnings. When she tells him about the Copage, Patrick's symbiote reveals that Null is hunting the Codex carrier, and if he gets it, all will be lost. Strickland, realizing the threat, decides the only solution is killing either Eddie or Venom. Payne doesn't agree, but the decision is made. The scene shifts back to Martin, who's traveling with his family to Area 51. He introduces Eddie to his wife, Nova, and kids, Echo and Leaf, offering him a ride to Las Vegas, unaware of the chaos about to unfold. Barefoot, Eddie joins Martin's family, who are heading to Area 51 before its closure. As they continue their journey, Martin plays his guitar while his family sings. Venom, touched by their joy, asks Eddie to sing, but he refuses. Watching the family's happiness, Venom reflects on whether they could have lived a peaceful life. Late at night, Martin's son nervously offers Eddie chocolate, admitting he's scared of aliens. Eddie reassures him they aren't real, and Venom praises him, saying he'd be a great father. After hours of driving, they reach Las Vegas, where security cameras spot Eddie. Martin, grateful for their time together, gives him money and sandals before parting ways. Venom excitedly eats the chocolate, and they joke about their next move. Eddie suggests stealing a car, but Venom prefers hitting the slot machines. At the casino, they're denied entry due to their appearance. Venom knocks out a guard, and inside, they encounter a drunken man urinating on Eddie's feet. Furious, Venom knocks him out and steals his suit. Once in the club, Venom loses their money gambling, but luck changes when they run into Mrs. Chin, who's on a winning streak. Noticing Eddie's bad odor, she offers her room for him to clean up and later invites them to celebrate. As Eddie prepares to leave, Venom takes over and dances with Mrs. Chin, unaware they're being watched. Just as the symbiote hunter approaches, Venom shifts back, and Eddie warns Mrs. Chin to stay calm. The danger seems to pass, but Area 51 agents storm the club and capture Eddie. Meanwhile, Martin's family sneaks into Area 51, eager to explore. In the lab, Dr. Payne discovers symbiotes deteriorate without proper hosts and believes Venom must reunite with them. Eddie wakes in a trance, finding Patrick alive. Patrick warns him to protect the Codex, revealing an army of symbiotes needs it to survive. Strickland enters, declaring full control and revealing his plan to kill Eddie to destroy the Codex and prevent Null's return. Horrified, Dr. Payne and her colleague refuse to comply, freeing Venom. Venom reunites with Eddie, but the Copage, detecting him, attacks. Patrick's symbiote tries to intervene but is absorbed. Chaos erupts as other symbiotes break free, desperately battling the Copage to help Venom escape. Martin's family, watching from a high vantage point, remains unnoticed. During the escape, Dr. Payne takes a symbiote container and flees. Meanwhile, the unstoppable Copage devours symbiotes one by one. Eddie, determined to protect the Codex, hesitates when he spots Martin's family. He climbs to them and admits to Echo that aliens exist. His best friend is one. Venom emerges, thanking Echo for the chocolate. Suddenly, Strickland's attack triggers an explosion, endangering Martin's family. Venom dives to save them, inspiring other symbiotes to help. Just as victory seems possible, the Copage regenerates. Dr. Payne runs it over with a car, urging everyone to escape. Before they can, the Copage emits a screech, summoning Null's reinforcements. A portal opens, unleashing his monstrous army to capture Venom and seize the Codex. Realizing the symbiotes aren't the true threat, Strickland joins Eddie's fight. His plan, Venom distracts the hunters while helicopters attack from above. Despite their combined efforts, the hunters overwhelm them. Strickland, seeing his soldiers fall, rushes into battle but is gravely injured. Venom fully transforms to save him but is captured. Just as all hope fades, Martin arrives, shooting the hunter and freeing Eddie, though Eddie is seriously wounded. Weakened but determined, Venom carries him to a helicopter, admitting the hunters are far stronger than expected. Saddened, he confesses his dream of seeing the Statue of Liberty. Eddie, keeping spirits high, promises they'll see it one day. As more hunters arrive, Venom accepts their fate. He comforts Eddie, then rises for a final stand. Facing the enemy head-on, he absorbs their attacks with everything he has. In a last effort, he turns to Strickland, barely alive, and urges him to activate the acid tanks in the lab, one final strike to end the battle. Strickland, understanding the gravity of the situation and his slim chance of survival, agrees to the plan. He orders Dr. Payne and her colleague to run while he activates the acid release. As the lab floods, Venom makes his final sacrifice, throwing Eddie to safety and telling him to never forget him. The acid consumes Venom and the hunters, but in his last act, Venom shields Eddie with a door. Eddie watches in anguish as he says his final goodbye. Accepting his fate, Strickland pulls out a hidden remote and triggers an explosion. As Dr. Payne and her colleague flee, Payne flashes back to her brother's death, recalling a similar escape. When her colleague trips, it seems history will repeat. Without hesitation, she bonds with the Flash symbiote, gaining incredible speed and rescuing her colleague just in time. Together, they escape as the lab collapses behind them. After the explosion, Eddie wakes up, disoriented and hoping to hear Venom's voice. A general beside him delivers the harsh truth: Venom is gone. However, he acknowledges Eddie's heroism, stating that both he and Venom have earned national gratitude. But there's a catch. Everything that happened must remain a secret. If Eddie speaks, he'll spend the rest of his life in the darkest place imaginable. Wandering through New York, Eddie reflects on his time with Venom, remembering their challenges and adventures. Eventually, he reaches the Statue of Liberty, Venom's dream destination. Staring at it with a solemn expression, he whispers a promise: he'll never forget his best friend. Thus ends Venom 3, The Last Dance post-credits scene. In the void, Null, enraged by his champion's fall, with fury in his eyes, he proclaims that the planets belong to him, and all will burn under his rule.